What's up, guys? I'm back and I'm going to attempt another recipe today. See how that goes. Today I'm going to try to make the step-by-step guide to French macarons from sallysbakingaddiction.com. Macarons are little sandwich cookies that are notoriously difficult to make because they are temperamental and everything has to rest for ages and stuff. I've got egg whites out on the counter here that have been hanging out at room temperature for like 4 hours to try and make them correct. But we'll see. I'm going to give it a go. It says it's step by step. This recipe doesn't really require much in the way of specialty equipment. The only thing that I would really consider specialty is, well, you do need piping bags to pipe out the batter onto your surface that you're going to cook on. And speaking of the cooking surface, what I've read everywhere works the best are the silicone baking mats. Amazon Basics actually has a set that have little outlines for how big the cookie should be. So those are the ones that I went with. I will drop a link to purchase those baking mats down below. Okay, well, let's get started. Okay, we're at our first batter rest, in which we let it rest in the bowl for 10 to 30 minutes before we put it in the bag to pipe it out on the sheet to let it rest for an hour. It's a very time-consuming recipe. I'm pretty damn impressed. These are very difficult to do.
Oh God, we're gonna have to clean up the
It's gonna be okay.
outside of the mat. Yeah, this is so messy.
I think you're becoming an expert on them now, Daisy.
No, I'm not. Oh gosh.
It's a very good sign that the ones that you've already done
Go.
have expanded to exactly the outside line. Versus those that have inside lines. These have expanded all to like pretty much exactly fill up the outside line. Because to just go fast.
Yeah, like go, stop. Oh, that, now see, I bragged and now I messed up.
That's okay.
They were all going so perfectly.
Nice.
Now I'm dripping everywhere because I
It's gonna be
bragged.
okay. Okay, these things have been resting on the counter on the sheets for an hour, and they are starting to look pretty decent. They have that like kind of matte sheen on the top a little bit. So we're gonna pop these in the oven and make a buttercream. Well, we did successfully, mostly, make some macarons. This is a pretty difficult recipe, honestly. Definitely not something I would suggest to a beginner. Just go ahead and make some chocolate chip cookies. Especially once the part where you have to fold things into the whipped egg whites is basically where it's like super crucial. You've got to fold enough to make sure that everything is integrated and the almond flour and the sugar is all absorbed and smooth and incorporated into the mixture. But also if you overbeat it, then everything's going to collapse and you're not going to have any rise. Ours came out pretty good. Pretty much all of them cracked. Everything I read online says that's from the oven being too hot, though we did use the recommended time and temperature. I think if I were to make this recipe again, I would probably, maybe my oven just runs a little bit hot. I actually don't have an oven thermometer, which I should. So if I were to make this again, I would probably lower the temperature on my oven or do what I should get and buy an oven thermometer. But overall, I think the recipe is solid. This is just a difficult, like technically difficult cookie to make, but overall they came out pretty well. I filled ours with a vanilla buttercream that I tinted pink to match the bluish green aqua colored cookies. I didn't even actually use a recipe for the buttercream. It's just like 3 cups of confectioner sugar and 2 sticks of butter and a teaspoon of vanilla and a splash of milk, and then whip it until you can add more sugar if it's too loose or more milk if it's too tight. So that's pretty much it. That's what we filled ours with. They were good. I don't really know that they're worth all the effort, but that's basically how I always feel about these cookies. Like, they seem like the kind of thing that you should just buy in a pastry shop, to be completely honest. But if I were entertaining people and wanted to pull off some impressive dessert, I might go for them. This is definitely not a bad recipe. It's just a little bit on the difficult side. And I guess to me, the payoff isn't really worth all the effort. Maybe it's because I'm not a huge fan of sweets. But overall, it was a very well done recipe. The suggestion to use the silicone baking mats was definitely a good one. They were a little bit difficult to peel off of those, but I can't imagine trying to get those off of a nonstick pan, because the only way that we could actually get them to come off is to kind of like roll the silicone up so that the cookie like stuck up over it, to where we could basically peel the silicone off the cookie instead of vice versa, because any other way was basically folding the cookies in half or crumbling them or whatever. So that was a little bit difficult, but the silicone baking mats did make all the difference in the world. So if you're planning to make these, I definitely would get the silicone baking mats. What else was there? We had a decent amount of trouble getting our batter into the piping bag. We used some piping bags and tips from Amazon, and they were okay, but they're a little bit on the thin side. I think some thicker bags would have helped there. We ended up actually, I scooped about a good scoop of the batter directly into the sink because I missed the bag, so that's always fun. But yeah, overall, solid recipe. Does make some pretty decent macarons, but probably not my thing. I think I'm going to go with something savory next. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed my video, and like and subscribe if you did, and I will see you next time. Later.